Tuning in to the online broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Johnson.
AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows. Interviewing celebrities and showrunners. And bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Right. Told you.
You did tell me. We have a little applause. Yay! That applause was for
Beginning of the show.
the beginning of the show.
And the show we just watched, too.
Yep.
178.
Okay, hello and welcome to UFC AfterBuzz TV. My name is Daria Berenato and I'm here with my lovely co-host George Hermoza and Mr. J Tan.
Hello.
We are going over UFC 178, Johnson versus Cariaso. Whoa, they were not the only fights on the card, guys. That was a stacked card, probably the most stacked UFC pay-per-view, especially that we've seen maybe in the past year.
Maybe ever.
Ever?
No. It was the most stacked UFC card, but it also delivered.
Yeah.
Very good point.
Like
Pound for
one
pound.
from a year ago, but
Very good point.
Yeah,
from top to
delivered.
bottom, it was one of those cards where, at any given point, any one of those fights from the main card, including the main event from the prelim, could have been a main event, whether it's a Fight Pass or a UFC.
Totally
Fox
agree.
Or,
I mean,
Yeah.
Dominic, when you have a card that puts Dominic Cruz on the prelims, you have a stacked card.
I'm just psyched that we actually got him on the prelims.
Yeah.
Or on the card at all.
On the card at all,
Finally,
yeah.
after 3 years, a nice return for the Dominator.
Yeah,
there.
they said it was 1,029 days, I believe.
pretty
Yeah.
much.
Yeah.
Close to 3 years.
So close to 3 years. so
hey,
he
happy belated birthday, by the way.
Thank
That's
you.
right.
You were in Vegas last week, but you weren't in Vegas for the show.
I was in Vegas for 5 days, and I leave 3 hours before the UFC.
Ooh.
Should have snuck your way in.
It's not right. I had to get back to you guys. I had to get back to training.
We missed you, too.
I had to get back to see my friends.
You look so pretty.
Oh, thanks.
You look a lot like.
Do I look pretty?
Now that you're actually of age, like you're looking pretty.
Oh,
you're
that's
you're
what it
looking
is.
pretty good.
I'm looking pretty good. It's one of those. Yeah.
Now that I can buy you a
That's
drink.
the connotation he
now,
meant it in.
now that I can consciously get you drunk and not feel
public.
guilty about it.
Not feel what?
Guilty about it.
Oh.
I thought he said Gitsy. I was
I
like,
heard Gitsy, too.
yeah.
And Gitsy.
Gitsy, that's a little bit hanky, boy.
Yeah. a little bit.
You don't have to feel guilty about it. I mean, illegal drinking's been going on for years. It's like I was playing. Oh, listen to this. I was playing blackjack in Vegas, and the dealer's
The
like,
day after you were 21, of course. 'Cause
no, the day
otherwise
up.
that would have been
the
yes.
night up. It was
Okay.
like 12:30. I turned 21. I was like, bring me champagne, and so
And chips.
and chips. Yeah. Oh yeah. I right away was got the chips, and the dealer was like, oh my god, it's 21st birthday, happy birthday, let me teach you how to play. And I was like,
Hey, did you win anything in
I already
blackjack?
know how to play.
What do these blue ones do?
Did you
yeah.
win anything in blackjack?
I did.
How much?
I won like $1,000.
OMG.
Yeah, over the course of the 4.5 days.
Party at Daria's house.
Well,
what?
I had my
What?
mother.
What?
I had my
Doodle.
Doodle
My
was in the house.
Doodle was there. I had my whole family on the table, so the money was staying within the
Not
family.
literally.
Yeah,
Figuratively.
figuratively, sitting at the table.
Just checking.
J-Tan. So we
that
all
would've been
won.
weird.
Yeah, that would have been a little weird if she was on the table. There were other girls on the table in the pleasure pit. That's what it's called, where you sit and you gamble. There's like a pleasure pit section.
Oh, is that the one where they stand up and they're dancing right in the middle of
Yeah,
the
and I'm like, oh my god, what's going on here?
Where are you at? Circus?
Planet Hollywood.
Oh,
Super fun casino and
you
hotel.
don't say. Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah, and Misha Tate was doing a signing there at the fight shop, and so
you guys
was.
thought we fell off topic.
Yeah, he thought
Bring
we
it
fell
back
off
to
topic.
MMA
I'm
there.
bringing it back, baby. And Dolce Diet was signing his book. Super good book, guys. Check it out. Okay, so 10% of the ticket sales this week were sold in Ireland. Do we know why? Conor McGregor.
The Notorious one came over,
The
and he won over the whole crowd. Anybody that wasn't an Irishman fan, they are now after the knockout he did, that slapping in the first round over Dustin Porier.
Yeah,
Not bad.
couldn't have said it better. No, that was a super good fight though. But let's start with Dominick Cruz. Okay, guys, we
Yeah.
had Dominick Cruz. He was the last prelim versus Tiaki Mizugaki.
Good job.
Thank you. I thought it was pretty good.
It wasn't.
Well, when you're confident with it, you just keep saying it.
Takeya.
Takeya Mizugaki.
Takeya?
Yeah. Not teriyaki Mizugaki.
I didn't
say teriyaki.
I didn't hear that either. It wasn't that bad.
Takeya Mizugaki
Dominick Cruz, who never even lost the UFC Bantamweight Championship.
Let's talk about that.
is now ranked number 10.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he hasn't fought in almost 3 years.
Yeah,
so,
I know. It sucks, though.
The last time he fought, it was October 1st, 2001.
But let's step back and talk about the
2001?
Mm-hmm.
history.
Yeah, 2011.
I was going to say.
Dominick Cruz was the UFC bantamweight champion.
Yep.
And was scheduled
First
for
ever Bantamweight champion.
Yeah, that's right. Brought over from WEC, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Just transferred over the title, and was scheduled. He was a coach on Ultimate Fighter versus Uriah Faber, and that was building up to a rematch. They had fought once before in WEC for the championship, and was scheduled to fight at the end of TUF. Unfortunately, Dominick tore. Correct me if I'm wrong. ACL.
I think so.
You would think after 3 years of talking about it, we would remember these things.
And
but
as he was coming back from injury, he got hurt again.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Joe Rogan mentioned it was probably because he was training already. Like he didn't let it fully heal
yeah.
Right.
before.
Right.
There was one thing after another, and this has been one of the most interesting stories in UFC. Probably one of the most sympathetic stories in UFC history in a long time of the return of Dominick Cruz, because he was an incredibly dominant, pardon the unintended pun, champion. Look at some of his stats there. We're checking them out. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. I believe 12 wins in a row.
He beat the who's who of the band. I mean, probably Dominick Cruz has probably got the best feet as far as like as
he
a fighter
is
goes.
infamous for those feet.
Footwork and
you
And
definitely saw
he beat the champ Demetrious Johnson, who we watched
That's
win
right.
against
He
Knight.
defended against DJ
Yeah.
at
that was
135.
his last fight.
Yep. Before he was
Before he
done.
got hurt, yeah.
Okay.
And so, this has been 3 years in the making of him coming back, getting surgery to repair his leg. Then that had complications. Then that got fixed and he healed up. Then
Right.
I believe a groin injury more recently.
Yeah.
Upon his return, and
Because he was scheduled to fight Barao, I think. Because Barao,
possibly,
they had
yeah.
given Barao, I think when Uriah Faber was scheduled to fight Dominick Cruz for the bantamweight title, Dominick got hurt, so they put Barao in that for the interim title.
That's right.
Barao actually won.
Henan Barao.
Right.
Henan Barao actually won. He went on a rampage, beat pretty much everyone with the exception of one person,
TJ Dillashaw.
TJ Dillashaw.
Yeah.
And now,
Ironically, the teammate to Uriah Faber, whom Dominick Cruz was supposed to face 2 years prior to that.
Right.
So, they unfortunately, the UFC held on as long as they could in terms of keeping Dom as champion while on the injured list. Finally,
Right.
after 2 years, did
just
have to
had
strip
to.
him of the title. Yeah. 2 years, you can't have a title be that, what's the word, inactive.
Yeah, absolutely. I
And-
mean, it was a smart move. It was
Yeah.
the only move, I think. But he's back. He's at number 10. And Dana White said he gets the next title shot already against TJ Dillashaw.
I think it helped the way he beat Takeya Mizugaki.
Let's
talk about that.
He
Yeah.
was
Yeah,
like,
absolutely.
holy, where was this Dominick Cruz back in the day? Because a lot of the wins that he had was by decision.
And,
Right.
and Mizugaki as well.
no joke,
Both
is
of those
he?
guys, really, if you look at their records, Mizugaki and Cruz, you were figuring this was probably going to be a 3-round decision.
Definitely. I
But-
thought it was. I didn't think there was going to be any finishes.
Yeah.
Mizugaki's ranked number 5. Dominick Cruz, number 10, former champion. Beautiful takedown by Dominick
Yeah.
Cruz in the first
Man. So
seconds
quick,
of the
too.
fight.
Like, you blink and you
Right?
miss.
Oh my God, it was beautiful. Mizugaki was crawling up the cage to try to get back up. Dominick Cruz shoved him, stopped
him
him,
down, yeah.
and started hammer fisting away, and they stopped it, and that was it.
Yeah, 1 minute, 1 minute, 1 second. This was probably the best Dominick Cruz that we've seen. Ironically, certainly in the past 3 years, it has been. But in terms of finishing rate,
Wow.
I don't know the last time we saw. I don't remember the last time that Dom finished somebody.
Oh, you want to look at it?
Yeah,
But,
why don't we-
I mean,
really
it's been
a
a
nice-
while. He hasn't finished somebody in at least 4 years. I mean, that was
Wow.
because of a doctor stoppage because the other guy broke the hand. Not really known for being a finisher.
Right. To his credit, I mean, he's faced legit guys: Scotty Jorgensen, DJ,
Joe B.
Joe B,
Yeah.
Uriah, of course. But that said, this was, I mean, I don't even know how to put it. A guy that has a record of decisions like that and then comes out and finishes in a minute.
He was eager. He was so hungry. It's like when guys come back from injuries or long leaves of absence, they either come back amazing or significantly worse.
A little
in
bit,
my opinion.
sometimes a little bit hesitant,
Right.
a bit of ring rust.
He
That's the
came
thing you can
back.
say. There was no ring rust at all on this guy.
Amazing. No, not at all.
And a great comeback story, like a feel-good story to know that he finally got over that hump.
Yeah.
You know?
And he's a likable guy. When he got on the microphone at the end of his fight, I was like, oh, I missed hearing him talk. Except it was really funny. Right before he was leaving, I don't know if you guys caught this. You did.
I did.
You were in there with me. Alpha fails.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so great.
Yeah, looking forward to facing TJ Dillashaw as a TJ's title defense
Right.
against Dominick, and of course Team Alpha Male, home of Uriah Faber. And
It's funny because he said in an interview, he's like, dude, I like everybody in Alpha Male. It's just Uriah that I can't stand.
Right, yeah.
Well, I'm sure that was a dig towards Uriah in general, although he decided to
but he's like,
take the team out with
I
him.
get along
Yeah.
with TJ, get along with Joe B, get along with Mendez, but
Right.
just Uriah's a prick. Yeah, so
He ain't gonna be
I
getting
thought that was
along with
kind of
those
funny.
guys
There it
for a
is.
while anymore.
But 61 seconds. He sat there afterwards and he took in the moment for another minute.
Longer
And-
than what his actual fight was.
Definitely. And Joe Rogan was like, how you feeling? You know, you're looking around, you're kind of calm. He's like, honestly, I'm just taking this in. He's like, this was, he couldn't believe the comeback he had.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe the comeback he had.
I mean, speaking of comebacks
I was
and
just
feel
gonna
good
say,
stories,
we had
beautiful
another-
segue. The winner of the next fight.
Oh my
If
God.
anything, that alone was a comeback story on its own. The things
Yes.
that Kat Zingano has gone through in the last year and a half. Holy cow!
Yeah.
Seriously, that is a woman that I would never want to mess with. She is someone who has the heart and the talent to be the best in the world, but she also has the motivation and the reason. You know, she has a son. She's obviously a single mother now. She lost her husband, rest in peace, a year ago, 2 years ago?
Maybe like what,
Middle of
9 months ago?
earlier this year. Yeah.
Okay. Earlier
Yeah.
this year.
Yeah.
Although you said they were estranged, it's still a hard loss.
Still the
Obviously,
mother, it's still the father of
her
a
kid.
child, you know.
And that was on top of an injury.
Right,
on
already
the-
being
you
out
know,
for an injury.
Yeah, and that injury happened right on the doorstep of a huge opportunity for her. She was about to. She had beaten Misha Tate and won basically her coachship, if you will, against Ronda in Ultimate Fighter. What ended
Ultimate
up
Fighter,
being a season of Ronda versus Misha, which certainly delivered some great fireworks. Probably wouldn't have had the same fireworks had it been Kat and
Zingano.
Ronda, but it was supposed to be that those two coaches, and then the injury happened, and then of course the tragedy with her husband there. So
Right.
yeah, that's a tough one to get over as well. Not quite the same length of time as Dominick, but that's a lot in a year to swallow, and then to come
Yeah.
back.
That's strong.
Yeah. She fought Amanda the Lioness Nunes herself within the top 10, and I thought, you know, she's a credible opponent. Has had some great experiences and good wins, and Kat goes on the way to finish. Well, I'm sorry, not. To finish in round 3, and you know that was a closely contested battle, very back and forth, really dominant, a lot of scrapping and pounding. Ground and pound with the two
Right.
ladies, but an impressive performance. Even I'd say a little bit maybe come from behind at least.
Yeah.
from the first.
I think Nunes had that first round.
Nunes won the
Absolutely.
first. Yeah,
Absolutely.
yeah. She was. She took the fight to her. I felt got her on the ground and
The damage.
yeah.
Real
Yeah.
damage from the top.
Yeah, Kat was stuck there. She did. She was trying for an arm bar, but for the most part, that first round, Nunes imposed her will and was
Yeah.
on top in the first, and then suddenly Kat came back, and round 2 and 3, we saw a completely different woman, right?
Yeah, round 2 and 3, those guillotine suplexes, guys. We were sitting there watching, and I gasped every time she did it.
Yeah.
She would get her in kind of like a loose guillotine from the front, and then she would just suplex her right over top.
It's like she dropped her body weight and then threw Amanda's body over.
Oh my God.
Almost like George and I can talk about, you know, the DDT in pro wrestling. It really was a very similar move where you drop down, almost driving the head into the ground. But in this case, Nunes knew to go with it. You know,
Right.
As we talked about that wrestling
That
adage
wrestling,
about
it definitely is similar to
so
wrestling.
where the head goes, the body will follow.
So
Yep.
ridiculously strong.
Yeah.
See those arms?
Guys, I was looking at those arms and I'm like, oh my God,
Yeah.
they have to have some power behind it, and we saw it used for those suplexes. I mean, I don't know how much finesse that move is more than strength. It's strength. It's really a strength move. But either way, she got her to the ground and maintained top position once she initiated the takedown.
She was really punishing Amanda from top, just like Amanda was in the first round.
Totally puts a whole new light to this. I'm sorry, to this upcoming bout with Ronda Rousey that I think it has already been announced for January 3rd, which is the co-main event for what was it?
I'm not sure what's the January 3rd.
I think it's Jones Cormier, which actually coincidentally was supposed to be tonight. September 27th was supposed originally.
That's right.
John Jones, Daniel Cormier.
Before the brawl, and more importantly, the Jones's injury.
Because I know it was skeptic that it would be Weidman, and then she would be the co-main to Weidman.
That Ronda was?
Yeah.
Ronda wants on the...
She wants with the John Jones Cormier.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But yeah, Dana White already come on saying that Kat Zingano's the next.
It's hers.
No issue with that. I mean, she definitely proved it.
It's been long awaited.
Yeah, of
she was
course.
supposed to have this fight years ago when the Ultimate Fighter was going on, like we said, and she didn't get it, and now's her chance. Now's her time.
It's like the thing with Dominick Cruz. It's like you coming back from a long injury.
Right.
Just kind of puts you in there just to make sure you still belong.
Right.
And they definitely still belong. Both Dominick Cruz and Kat
It's kind of like I think they should do with Gina Carano. Give her a comeback fight and then give her the title shot.
I read a quote that
it.
said Dana White that said she is the most difficult
human being.
And I think somewhere inside I even heard it. I heard Jay Tan go,
I told you. Told you so. Told you, Daria.
But he was more blaming it on like her people.
Yeah,
he didn't say her literally. He was basically saying her lawyers and her reps are a pain in the ass to deal with.
Apparently shooting 2 movies between now and the end of the year.
Right.
I've really questioned since they brought her back. They did an interview with her at Strikeforce prior to even the sale, I believe, just beforehand, saying that Gina was going to come back, and she kind of had this deer in the headlights look, going, "Hi guys, I'm back."
Yeah,
that's almost my exact impression of Gina, at least in that one interview. And I kind of questioned it, and I question it now again.
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to happen. If it does happen, good for both of those women, because they're going to make more money than they've ever seen in their lives, and probably the biggest public platform either of them have been on.
That'll be a huge match for 2015.
Yeah. I mean, come on.
As we start to wrap up the year, maybe we can talk about the best of 2014 and what to anticipate for 15. Of course, we knock on wood. Hopefully, we've still got Anderson Silva and Nick Diaz.
Oh my God, I can't wait to see that fight.
Possibly the return of GSP next year. Especially if these women, or even if let's see what happens with Betch Correia. If she continues to make her mark in 2015,
she'll get a title shot.
Yeah, we could see a really stacked next year in terms of major fights.
You are absolutely right. I think 2015 is going to be a huge year for MMA, for UFC specifically. I feel like there was a lull in this year where there was so much content, but a lot of our big stars were kind of injured. And I think next year they're all going to come back, and it's going to be like that ambush of amazing, amazing cards.
Could be.
Hope so. I want to go back to the Kat Zingano fight real quick. There's one major hole in her game that worries me against Rousey. We were talking about this vaguely while we were watching it. She got taken down by Amanda Nunes and was in side control and got dominated. That's what Rousey's going to do to you. She's going to judo toss you, and she's going to land in judo side control. Yeah. And do the exact same thing, except she's going to finish you. Yeah. So I think Kat Zingano's game plan, or she should go home and really focus on getting out of that bottom position, because that's going to be danger for her.
Well, not to talk out of two sides of the mouth, but in the same breath that we talk about Dominick Cruz not having any ring rust, that can be a factor. Perhaps that was a factor. This was the first round of her over a year hiatus. So it can be understandable. I could understand something like that. Going, okay, I need these 5 minutes to kind of get myself together. I'm back in the octagon here. Let's go.
She came out so lively though. Like I want to say you're right, but she came out so aggressive and so ready to fight. Not to say that there's not ring rust there, but I almost feel like sometimes when people come back rusty, they come in slow and and they're kind of like hesitant. She was not hesitant, but she did get taken down. So we'll see. I would like to see her do good against Rousey and maybe go into the second or third round.
Yeah, should be interesting. I can't wait.
We'll see. Then we had Tim Kennedy versus Yoel Romero, the Soldier of God.
This was interesting.
No comment on that.
Oh, well,
was
let's
interesting.
comment a lot about. Let's talk about the match and then that controversial moment between rounds
Very
2 and 3.
controversial.
Yoel Romero did finish Tim Kennedy in the third round.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember the time exactly, but it was by TKO, I believe.
Yep.
Tagged him with a left and dropped Kennedy and followed up with more grounded pound.
Right.
Kennedy was on his. Was really stunned and I think scrambling, trying to survive. You know, he was pretty rocked and was on his stomach. And Yoel Romero just kept throwing more lefts, and Big John McCarthy stepped in.
Yep.
Now, round 1, I think we both felt was very dominant for Yoel Romero.
I agree.
Perhaps not dominant, but strong enough.
Yeah.
And this, you know, the aspect of going into this match was really interesting. But in that they were very. Each guy, styles make matches, and it seemed like these guys' styles were meant for each other to really challenge each other. Romero won the first round. Kennedy really, I think, came back, kind of like we saw with Kat coming back in the second round. It seemed like between rounds 1 and 2, Tim Kennedy really got his head together and came out. It was still close and competitive, but Kennedy's striking was better. You got a takedown. Around the 2.5 minute mark, and clinched, landed a lot of uppercuts in that clinch, kind of a tie clinch, dirty boxing style.
I would have gave Kennedy that second round strictly for those last 10 seconds of that round.
He finished it well. Yeah. It was
a
kind
nice
of like a
dogfight.
dogfight round. It was really like a brawl. It really
Yeah.
became more equal than the first round.
Yeah.
I think the biggest problem with Tim Kennedy in the first round was that he couldn't deal with Yoel Romero's pace. I think Yoel is so fast. And like Joe Rogan was saying, he's calm and he's going like 50-60%, and then all of a sudden he explodes off of that.
Yeah.
And you don't expect it, and it's really hard to time.
Yeah.
And
Seemed like it was tough time judging his distance as well.
that
Tim was
too.
swinging
Yeah,
and
he was
missing a
swinging
lot.
and missing. You're right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And then, so this controversy happens between rounds 2 and 3, and we can all talk about what we saw individually.
Yep.
And it's getting a lot of play on the internet as well. Essentially, there's a 1 minute between rounds, and I almost want to look. I'm dabbling, or I'm looking at my notes here to make sure I got it right. We had the minute up, and the Nevada State Athletic Commission inspector, who was there he ushered out the at the 1 minute mark, ushered out the cornerman. There was a big slob of Vaseline over the cut on Yoel Romero's left eye. Yeah, left eye. This was a controversy that happened.
That his cornerman put there, to be clear.
No, not
No,
his
it
cornerman.
was the cut guy.
It was the cut
Was
man.
it the cut guy?
It was the UFC
Okay.
cut man. And I believe that Big John came to Yoel Romero's corner and told somebody. Told the cut man was gone by that point, so I think he was
Right.
talking to the Romero's cornerman to wipe it off.
It was way too much.
Yeah. In fact, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, I think even by that point, like at first, Yoel Romero was still on the stool. He was still sitting down, but the NSAC inspector and the cornerman had already left the cage, right?
No, the NSAC inspector was standing right there, I believe, and he was sitting on the stool, and the NSAC inspector seemed to be screaming,
Right,
get
to
off
get
the stool,
out.
get out. Like,
Right,
what are you
right.
doing? The minute's over.
He was talking to the cornerman saying, get out.
Right.
But Yoel stayed on the stool.
Yeah, and then John came over. I think originally his intention was to say, dude, what are you doing? The fight's about...
That's right.
You should be in the center. And then he saw the Vaseline and was like, dude, take that off.
Right. And that's when he called back
The cornerman. And he
who-
pretended he didn't understand.
Yeah, who proceeded to wipe down everything except the Vaseline on
He was
Romero.
wiping his back. He's wiping his front.
Right.
And John's like, no, wipe the cut.
Right.
And he got pissed and grabbed the rag.
And John wiped. I was gonna say he
Yeah.
wiped the cut himself.
Yep.
With his glove, then grabbed the rag and presumably wiped it off.
threw
his
it out of
glove
the
or
cage,
something.
told
Yeah.
everyone get the hell out, and
Right.
told Yoel to stand
Now
up.
this was an extra
Yoel.
28 seconds between rounds, and Tim by that point had already walked out to the center of the cage.
And said, what the hell's going on?
Yeah, and wanted to go. I think Tim was really in the zone and felt like he was his momentum was going and probably could have finished Romero early in that round.
Yeah.
So
that's
then
a bummer.
finally, so those 30 or 28 seconds or so.
And he was sitting down on the stool recovering.
Yes.
Getting an extra couple breaths. Really, I think the biggest effect it had in that fight was that it messed up Kennedy more. Because Kennedy's over there watching his opponent sit and relax while he's like, dude, come on, I'm freaking ready. Like it's really frustrating. Someone who's so eager to go back out there and
I have a tough time. Yeah, so Romero gets off the stool. They take it out, and the match goes on, and then Romero finishes him in the next minute or so.
Right.
Tags him with a left early.
Right.
I think a couple things went wrong here.
Right.
But I don't know how much it necessarily helped. Those extra 28 seconds necessarily helped Romero. I question that because when they first started out in the third round, I saw Tim Kennedy take a big huff. Romero looked sluggish. He didn't look fast. Didn't look like he had his energy. It seemed to me like Kennedy was in better shape at that particular moment than Romero. I think he was digging deep, pulled out the intestinal fortitude. But Romero tagged him with that left that dropped him. And that's kind of what I felt going in, that, Tim Kennedy, I would never question his, what's the word, his grittiness. Mm-hmm. The stuff that guy has done in the military, there's certain guys like that or Stan where you're gone beyond ever questioning their grittiness. If they have it in them, you're going to see that. And I feel like that was the case with Tim. But that said, Yoel Romero has the power that if he lands correctly on you, that's going to be a bad day for you. And I really think that's probably the thing that happened. It didn't help these 28 seconds. It didn't help Kennedy anyway.
I think, these are all natural factors that could always happen in a fight, things like this. I mean, there's always, something crazy that could happen and it could throw off your game mentally. I think it's part of fighting, though. And I think we see this in other scenarios, like, I don't know, a kick to the groin and the guy gets an extra breath, or when guys spit out their mouthpieces, like George said, and that gives them an extra breath, and it might, mess up your opponent's head. Whatever it may be, things like this happen, and it is part of fighting. So to blame the win or the loss on that, I don't think that's fair. I don't think, oh my God, Tim Kennedy lost because Yoel Romero got 28 seconds more breathing. I don't think that's the case. Did it mess up Tim Kennedy's head mentally and made him come out differently than he would have 28 seconds earlier? Possibly. But once again, it's
that's
factors
hard to
of
measure.
the fight.
I don't know that you can
The closest
measure
thing
that
I
so
can
much.
compare it to, which is someone told me this the other day, Marina Shafir's last fight, she went into the cage wearing spandex, long pants. And right before she was about to go on, the ref or the commissioner came up to her and was like, honey, you can't wear pants.
Didn't they cut them short,
and they
right?
cut her spandex into shorts right there in the cage.
Okay.
Now her opponents, this obviously took, I think, 3 or 4 minutes, maybe longer.
Yeah.
Her opponent's standing across the cage waiting to fight, that much longer, whatever the case may be. Marina Shafir goes into the cage and gets knocked out for the first time in her career. And I was talking to someone and they were like, dude, if that was me, that would have messed up my head so bad. And I was like, really? And they were like, yeah, you walk out to your walkout song, you're all ready, you're all pumped, and then the commissioner taps you on the shoulder and says, excuse me, can I cut your shorts because you didn't wear the right one? Like, you know what I mean? Things like that do play factors. Not saying it's an excuse, or you can say, oh, I lost that fight because I cut my pants, but
that's shit happens.
Shit happens.
I'm not buying. I mean, you got to roll with the punches there, especially. Pardon the pun, rolling with the punches, but you're a fighter in a cage. You're allowed to do just about anything. You have more leeway than any other combat sport. Kicking, submissions, wrestling, punching, so you're short. You got to cut your shorts a little bit. No, don't let that take you out of the game. Otherwise, you should be working on your mental a little bit more.
Right.
Or those 28 seconds. I don't know that would have made the difference, but I can understand Tim being angry at the lack of procedure or lack of sticking to the procedure. It was a hiccup that happened in between rounds, and it shouldn't have happened.
Right.
A couple things. I think that a few people are here to blame. If blame may be even a strong word, but it's just the perfect storm of things going wrong. The cut man put way too much Vaseline on that one cut. Perhaps he was thinking to wipe it off and then got rushed out and didn't have a chance to.
Right.
Or maybe he was left it on. I don't know what he was thinking, but there was a big gob that didn't need to be there. And it's not a rookie cutman either. He's worked UFCs for a while. The cornerman didn't take the stool.
Not only that, did you just see how slow they were walking out of the cage?
Yeah.
I didn't notice it myself.
Well, Joe Rogan mentioned it.
Joe Rogan mentioned it.
Even before that whole thing happened, they were like, dude, that their cornerman is taking their sweet-ass little time to get out of the cage.
People were very lively at that moment. Even Joe was, kind of super energized. But the cornerman forgot to take the stool out and
Forgot. Yeah.
You don't know. I mean, we can't know. When you're in the heat of that moment, George, when you're in that cage,
he can speculate though.
You can kind of you can speculate, but that's inferring something that we don't know, don't have any any proof that that's exactly where the cornerman's head was.
Still leaves a little,
But Romero, more than anybody else, should have gotten up. When the inspector is rushing guys out, when you see your cornerman leave, that's time for you to get ready to fight again. And Yoel Romero stayed on that stool when he should have stood up. And then the stool would have, most likely the stool would have been grabbed. At least the NSAC inspector would have grabbed it. And we would have continued on with the match. There wouldn't have been that same delay.
Right.
If there's let's put it like this. I know this, I believe this for a fact. If Yoel Romero had stood up and that gob of Vaseline was still on there, all right, John would have taken a look at Yoel Romero and said, wait. Called for a towel, wiped that off, and then the match would have continued. And nobody would have questioned John, in that moment. So at the end, it's like I said, it's a perfect storm of things going wrong.
Right. Well,
in
I think
moment.
John was trying to play by the book with having the cut man wipe it off. I don't know what the regulations are there or what the stipulations are.
Yeah.
But I guess it's makes sense to have the cut man wipe the cut off.
Mm-hmm.
But then he finally got fed up and was like, screw it, give me the freaking towel. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And took care of it himself, which got the fight underway. Anyway, it was a great fight. Both athletic, both really competitive.
Ended up winning fight of the night.
Ended up winning fight of the night,
Yeah.
rightfully so.
Really was a great scrap either way.
It was a close first to Eddie Alvarez and Donald Cerrone,
Yeah.
which we're going to talk about.
That was
we'll
a good
talk about
fun
it
one
next.
too.
Next is Dustin Poirier and Conor McGregor. There's been so much talk about this guy. He allegedly sold 10% of the ticket sales to his peeps back in Ireland.
Well, the 10% of the ticket sales were to Irish,
Right.
Presumably people coming
Presumably
over. That's
people.
about 1,000 tickets. Now, on the amateur circuit,
That's a lot of
if you
tickets.
got that person, you're signing that person up and keeping them exclusively if you can. But of an attendance that I believe was about 10,544, just under 11.
Mm-hmm.
I remember hearing the number in the post-fight press conference. But that's about 1,000 tickets you're talking about. 1,000 Irish citizens, men and women, coming over to see this guy fight.
That's crazy.
That it really is.
And what's a plane ticket from Ireland cost? A lot of money.
A lot of money, yeah. 1,000?
Probably it's like $1,000, $1,500.
Yeah, something. So, clearly the guy drives local economy wherever he is.
Hey, but it's Vegas. I mean,
Yeah.
those Irishmen probably wanted to come to Vegas anyway.
Yeah.
I had fun in Vegas.
He's Ireland's answer to a Brazilian. The Brazilian that throngs that, travel to
Right.
Anderson Silva or Jose Aldo, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
Conor McGregor goes into this match talking very big, and this probably had more heat than any other match on the card.
That was my number one fight I wanted to see the most last night.
Really?
Yeah.
Conor McGregor?
Well, it was mostly, I'm a big Poirier fan, but just putting them together, I'm like, dude, this is the fight I want to see the most. You got the Eddie Alvarez, and then like the championship fight was like the fourth fight. I'm like, ooh.
It's
But-
true. There
not that it
were
was
so
a bad
many
thing,
great
but
fights.
there was just that's how stacked it was.
Well, because I think the main event was the only one that didn't have a story behind it. I mean, it really wasn't too much to tell.
Right.
Whereas the other ones had some drama leading up to it.
Yeah.
First of all, the results. It was first round TKO by Conor McGregor. It ended in how many seconds?
a minute 46.
Minute 46.
Yeah.
He was
Conor
calm.
really took
he
it
was
to him.
confident. He came out there. Joe Rogan was like, "Oh, this is a title. This is a huge match. Up on the main card, pretty high." And he looks so calm.
Conor's got one of those strange stances that I think would irritate an opponent even more so. First of all, Dustin was very heated about this whole thing. He took a lot of Conor's comments very personally,
Right.
which was probably the point.
That's probably
To push
exactly
buttons.
what,
Yeah.
Exactly his
exactly
intention.
what McGregor wanted to do.
Yeah, and he was amped up, I think, more than we've ever seen him. And then for Conor to go in there and have this kind of karate side stance, hands low, and measuring Dustin. There was a good minute or so of feel-out period.
Very like Anderson Silva like, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And
The first part.
yeah, it's Conor landed, who's throwing a lot of hook kicks and spin kicks, landed with a kind of, my notes here say left hook / straight, which I guess is like a left diagonal. It was a hooking left straight, if you will.
It was almost like an overhand left.
Yeah, okay.
If there is one from there.
Yeah, That's why I will never be a coach or cornerman, to be sure, or a trainer.
Do that overhand hook left straight thing, okay?
Yes.
To that area,
Between the eye and the nose?
The face.
Throw the left from the right. But it did land, dropped Conor.
Yeah.
Dustin. And Conor followed up with hammer fists and more punches before Herb Dean called it off. Conor called it. He said he was going to finish Dustin in the first round. TKO or KO?
In his speech
TKO.
at the end, TKO, yeah. In his speech at the end, he's like, "I don't pick fights, but I pick rounds."
Yeah.
He's like, "I'll pick which round I finish you in."
Yeah, he's on some Babe Ruth stuff here.
He really is.
Making the call.
I am such a firm believer that fighting is like 90% mental, maybe like 80% mental, 20% of athleticism and everything else. But it is so mental. I mean, we see it. Look at 90% of our champs. Look at Ronda Rousey. Look at Conor McGregor. These guys.
John Jones.
They screw with your head, and look what happens. I mean, you cannot not be intimidated by these people unless you have a similar mentality that matches up with it, and then okay, you both equal each other out. But
confidence
Dustin,
can take you far. That's the
it really
thing.
can.
Yeah.
Going in there, talking the talk, walking the walk,
I'm a little upset at McGregor though. In his not the post-fight conference, but the post-fight, like with the panel.
Yeah.
He kind of I think he kind of revealed a secret. So they were asking him, they were like, "Oh well, so how was the bad blood between Poirier and yourself?" Dude, I don't have any bad blood. That's all hype.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah,
He's like, I don't know. I mean, I think he just took things personally, but that's what I do to hype the fight. I'm like, oh, what are you doing? You're revealing everything.
You're doing everything your manager told you not to do.
But I mean, that guy. I said it yesterday. I said it today. I know whoever wins the between Aldo and Mendes next month,
Right.
Put him up against McGregor. Not to say he's going to lose anytime soon, but dude, just milk it. Book the stadium in Ireland, the biggest stadium you guys have.
Right.
I think it's 80,000 people. I guarantee you can have the crappiest undercard. You don't have to. You can fly out guys to pay them like $1,000, $2,000 just economically. As long as you got McGregor on that main event,
I agree.
They'll sell out and then some.
There's definitely philosophy
Absolutely.
of when the iron is hot, you strike.
Yeah.
Certainly with matchmaking, because there's just way too many other factors that have to fall in line that you don't want to risk it putting it so far out. Now, a lot of people are saying that McGregor should have to fight somebody else.
No, he should absolutely.
Yeah.
But
He's not going to.
from a business standpoint, he is actually probably.
You think so? You think he's gonna have another one?
I think he is, but that's just my from a business standpoint. But book him in an Ireland stadium. Did you remember the reaction that he got from that small stadium? I mean, and I don't know how true, or I kind of want to see how true this is. They apparently the whole country shut down to watch this fight last night in Ireland. That's what they kept saying over and over again. Rogan and Goldberg were like, "Oh, everybody in Ireland is watching this fight right now."
Right. I'm sure they were.
Thing.
I mean, Ireland's not that big into American sports like we are. I mean, they probably did shut down their whole town for their love. Yeah, they really do. It's like Brazilians.
I'm of two minds. I guess I could understand wanting Conor to fight another fight before getting a title shot. But that said, the UFC does have a record in the past of making matches that make more economical sense.
Look at Brock.
Than necessarily Brock Lesnar in his title shot.
Yeah, he got it in his
wasn't it
third? He got it in
against
his third fight, in his third UFC fight.
Was that
he lost his
four-man
first fight.
tournament against Randy, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, he lost to Frank Mir. He beat Heath Herring, and he faced Randy Couture for the title, and he beat Randy Couture for the title. But then again, he was probably the biggest pay-per-view draw for them at that time.
I'd be hard pressed to remember exactly the heavyweight neighborhood at that point, but his star was on a rise. I'm thinking more so specifically Chael. When we talked about when Chael got his title shots. A lot of people didn't necessarily think that he was in line for it. He kind of talked his way into it. What's going on over here?
She kicked me under the table.
Okay, footsie's kicking, whatever you want to call it.
Oh, is that what it is? Okay.
Well, are you guys sharing waters over there? Why is there 3?
Mine is
this
over
is
here.
Vodka, and this is tequila.
George is hiding behind not just the computer, but also now two different AfterBuzzes.
Ooh. Oh, man.
Yeah.
Got a bit of a kick.
That was a good fake sip.
I do think though, I wouldn't be totally mad. I would understand if they decided to book a show in Ireland. Although, who knows how far out they're booking. We've talked about a few shows into early 2015. Obviously, we're not going to get another show with Conor in 2014, unless something happens with Aldo and Mendez. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they booked Frankie Edgar, Cup Swanson. I think that should be the number one contendership.
I agree with that.
Like I said, who knows? Who knows? But maybe Edgar or Swanson will face McGregor for the number one contendership. So who knows?
Oh, that would be nice.
Or if
Frankie Edgar McGregor would be badass.
I was going to say, if Edgar or Swanson gets injured, you throw in Conor McGregor in there. That makes sense.
Yeah.
But suddenly, if they decide to book, let's say March or April next year, they decide to book Ireland. All right.
Right.
I wouldn't be surprised if maybe they book that after this upcoming Aldo fight, and then they announce Conor McGregor in Ireland early next year.
Yeah,
early to mid next year.
Timing's weird because of the Mendez Aldo fight. So it's like, do you put him before, but then he doesn't get it after?
I know McGregor is praying every night that Mendez gets hurt.
I would be. I mean, that is a huge, huge shot.
Yeah.
I love watching McGregor fight anybody. I really do. I'm a McGregor fan. I am. I like.
Were you before?
I am too.
Yeah, I was. I didn't. I think we were all kind of waiting to see if his hype was real, and if he could handle a real battle. We haven't seen him in many battles. I have yet to see him in a battle. This wasn't a battle. He finished it in the first 2 minutes of the fight.
But he did beat the number 5 guy.
But he did, exactly. So where I'm going with this is that the mentality, that mental thing he does with his opponents, it's working, and it's going to continue to keep working.
He's a total package.
He's
got
the
it
package.
factor.
Yep.
Yeah. I was, people are talking about him, comparing him to Chael when Chael's rise to verbal fame. And
I could see the comparison.
Whereas Chael was very good, and had Anderson Silva's number in the first match. Nobody really saw his legacy, his past title or his past matches, as something that dictated equal to the way he was talking. Whereas Conor McGregor, he talks the talk and walks the walk.
He does.
I felt that.
Thus far.
Felt that pretty much since I saw him, and this proved it as well.
I want to see him go a 3 to 5 round fight. I want to see him go in there and really.
You want to see him have a dogfight?
I do. I want to see his cardio. I want to see how his mentality holds up, how his mental strength holds up. I want to see where he goes in 3 to 5 rounds.
Yeah. Well, that's what a lot of people wanted, with Ronda as well. Like everyone kept wondering, when is she going to get taken out of the first round?
Misha Tate thing was the closest we've seen.
Yeah,
the rematch, and that's a lot too. It's like, okay, rematch is you know what to study, you know what to expect, and she still beat her. But
that fight pissed me off though. It's
why?
Like, why you keep trying to take her
why
down?
are you wrestling? I know.
It's like you're gonna get judo tossed every time you're even gonna try something, but she kept doing it. I'm like, what are you doing?
But we have Kat Zingano that beat Misha Tate.
Yeah.
Soon to fight Rousey, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Next we have Donald Cerrone versus Eddie Alvarez. I love Donald Cerrone. He's a guy. He has a really weird stance. He's very upright and he's very stern.
Because he's tall.
Like he is very tall.
And a trained, well-versed Thai boxer.
Yeah, and that he always seems so almost like tense. But I know he's very calm. But it's like his stance almost makes him seem really tense, like intense and sturdy.
I'm guessing he's probably pretty intense in there. Like if you felt on like his shoulders or his arms, I bet it's really tense.
Probably
when he is in there and ready to go.
He seems it. Even his face a little bit gives it away. If you look into his eyes, which I'm not saying I was doing or anything, but you could see like
because the cameras were too far away. Stop fronting.
No, he has nice blue eyes. But like you could just look at him and say, okay, he's don't mess with him when he's in there.
Yeah.
Very unlike Conor McGregor.
Yeah.
He fought Eddie Alvarez, who's ranked number 14 right now. Donald Cerrone's ranked number 5.
He was ranked, or did they just rank him?
I think. Well, they just ranked him because obviously this is Eddie's first match in the UFC.
But did they rank him before the show? I don't remember seeing like a number next to his name.
Really? No. I did see him ranked at 14 recently, but that must have been after they announced this match, I would think, or right after the signing.
I'm kind of curious why they didn't give him a title shot to begin with, because they usually do give the other promotions champions the title shot. Whether it's Nick Diaz,
like when
Nick Diaz, they gave him. No, he fought BJ Penn. No. Who am I thinking of?
I don't know that that's the case necessarily. A lot of guys will come over.
Well, some of the Pride guys they gave title shots to.
Maybe Pride.
Anderson,
not the other organizations.
Yeah, Rampage versus Dan Henderson, but that's an anomaly. They bought the promotion, they owned that promotion. By the same token, they bought WEC.
Right.
I believe you had you were supposed to have unification matches.
Well, just that one, just Pettis.
Oh, not unification. Yeah. Just you're right. Yeah.
But I mean, but even so, it's like, yeah, I guess so, because I mean, they didn't give Jake Shields, they didn't give Hector Lombard.
Yeah.
No, you've got to prove yourself in the UFC. Before
You do.
go to
I
title
mean,
match.
my teammate Christos Yagos, he's making his UFC debut on the prelims, and he has championships in 3 organizations.
They did give Nick Diaz the title shot, but then GSP got hurt. Remember?
Look up your chronology. You got the computer in front
No,
of
I'm
you.
saying that they gave Nick the title shot, and then that's when, remember, he didn't show up to
Is that when he
to the
bought? They
press
bought
conferences.
Strikeforce.
No, it was even before they bought Strikeforce.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it?
I don't remember that.
Yeah,
I wish I could remember that psychology, that history, chronology. But
let us know.
the match itself, Cerrone and Alvarez.
That was exciting.
Yeah, another one that could have been fight of the night.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Cerrone took it via unanimous decision.
The right call, because I know a lot of sometimes the decisions we don't really agree with, but in this case, I do think that
Absolutely.
the decision was
Across the
correct.
board,
Yeah,
29-28.
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
I
It
gave
was
Alvarez-
competitive.
Yeah, yeah. I gave Alvarez the first one. I think he was really impressive. but then
I'm really
Cerrone
shocked
took
that
over.
Cerrone didn't go down with those dirty boxing
He
shots
had
and the
him.
uppercuts.
He had him in like a tie
That
clinch. With one arm, he was holding the crown of his head,
Yeah.
and the other, he was just. Talk about a flurry. It was like a 30 punch. I wish I knew the exact numbers, but it was like a 30 punch flurry.
Yeah.
It was just uppercuts and hooks and uppercuts and hooks and.
You know what's kind of scary is that Donald's head wasn't moving in that one, and it really didn't seem. Once they broke apart, Donald didn't really seem phased.
I was like, I don't even think that phased him.
And if
Maybe-
that's the case, then that's it. Doesn't shine well, on Eddie's power. Now we know that Eddie has knockout power,
Right. Well, it
but-
is close distance, close quarters, so it's hard to get that leverage. But I mean, that volume alone looked good.
Yeah, yeah. Eddie looked really good in the first round. Landed those uppercuts, clinched the Cowboy against the cage.
Right.
But then the second and third round, Cowboy came back. They were trading the second. They were trading punches and kicks. One stat I noticed I thought was interesting. Cowboy was very effective with his kicks in the second round, and Eddie was throwing and landing very well with his punches. They threw up a stat. I believe the numbers at this point, which was at least halfway into the match. Punches thrown, Alvarez landed 26 and Cerrone landed 8. But then kicks thrown, Cerrone landed 22 and Alvarez landed 2.
Oh wow.
Which speaks to the height difference that was there.
Yeah.
Eddie Alvarez at 5'9" and Cerrone, what was it?
Yeah.
6'3"?
Pretty much. We were talking about it last week when it was a huge height difference with Rinda Kai and Misha Tate.
Misha, yeah.
It was like a 6-inch difference. And I asked her, I was like, what do you think is the biggest advantage or disadvantage to finding someone that's shorter than you?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yesterday, just another reason why. Just maybe that height difference really does make a difference, whether it's the reach. But yeah, those kicks to the
In
point
Cerrone's
where,
case, it was the reach for sure. Landing those leg kicks on the outside of.
You saw Eddie
Eddie's
Alvarez
leg.
going for the body shots on Donald Cerrone, and that's so smart because a guy that's that tall has his arms up here protecting his face.
Yeah.
You have
Wider
90%
gap
of your body
of
open.
the torso, yeah.
Go for this. Go for the liver, the kidney, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
It's wide open. Donald Cerrone.
He really chopped down the tree. I think that was the strategy that seemed to work, was landing those leg kicks, and finally in the third, Eddie dropped, not being able to stand, and
That's pretty bad when you drop to the ground because one leg got kicked so much. I mean, the pain he must have been in to drop on his back in the middle of the fight. What was weird though is Donald Cerrone followed him.
yeah.
I mean, it seems a little unorthodox. I would think that if he dropped, I would stand up and be like, "You have to stand
You're
up."
well in the third round. You're pretty much on your way to winning the match, and somehow Cerrone decides to go down with him and continue giving Eddie more of a shot than if he had standing.
And it's funny because I'm sure Cerrone wanted to finish him, but if he would have just backed up and let the ref stand him up, and the ref would have saw that he can't stand up, it would have been finished.
Exactly. It's so funny. But Cerrone said at the end, he's like, "Man, I was tired. I was so tired." And I'm like, "Really, dude? You knew the fight was over. Let him stand up, watch him wobble a little bit, hit him a couple times. It would have been over for sure."
Yeah.
But he took it to the ground and let time run out and wrestled him a little bit. Not a bad decision. Eddie Alvarez is a really good wrestler. So kudos to Donald Cerrone for keeping top position for those last seconds.
I think we'll see. We'll see better from Eddie going out. You can.
Yeah, I agree.
Here's the thing. If Eddie had won this match, a lot of people were saying there would have been a great reflection on Bellator, and he didn't win. But I don't think that necessarily hurt. I don't think it necessarily worked in reverse. That it was a bad shining on Bellator.
I don't think
because
so
Eddie
at all.
was super competitive.
Yep.
Eddie does have a place in the UFC.
And when Eddie was in the UFC before, did he know Donald
He's never
Cerrone?
been- no, this is the first time.
This is the first time.
Yeah.
In the UFC, so he's one of those guys that came right over from Bellator. Okay, so he didn't know the Donald Cerrone that we know. So going
I'm sure
against
he
a guy,
studied him. I mean, I'm sure he.
Oh yeah.
I meant he'd never competed against him or competed against.
I'm sure
guys.
some of his teammates have fought him. I'm trying to think who.
Maybe
Donald and Melvin Gillard.
Eddie Alvarez is Black Zillions.
Correct. That's what I'm
So,
thinking.
yeah.
I know he's.
so.
I know
That's
Melvin's not there anymore, but
No,
at any rate, though, in the main event, after all of these great rounds, these
know.
ferocious rounds in the main event, Demetrious Johnson defending his title successfully against Chris Cariaso with a submission in the second round. One of the quicker finishes to the whole show, really.
Johnson controlling, wrestling, amazing in and out movement like always. He's always so quick on those feet. I don't know how he moves that fast and still maintains stamina for more than one round. He took it into the second and finished it via Kimura.
Yeah.
Didn't expect that.
Textbook championship performance
Yeah.
from bell to bell.
Yeah.
And this was the match that this finish won old Daddy J here from the fight pool of the night.
That's right. Last night you were at
you and your $1,000 and me and my $90. But at least it helped justify more chicken wings for the night.
Yeah, that's awesome. You were at Patrick Malloy's down in South Bay area.
Hanging out with Southie Rob and the Systems Training Center
He
guys.
was hanging out with my team without me.
know?
What's up with that?
Well,
But
somebody was in Vegas. Or no, somebody wasn't.
I got back. I was a little tired.
So you could have been there. But
Could have been there. Chose not to.
I could have won $10 off of you.
Oh, damn. What if I would have won?
Actually, with your luck, that wouldn't have surprised me either. Yeah, you would have walked away with it with
lucky.
$1,000.
I am a bit lucky, especially when it comes to gambling. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Knock on wood next time.
You're
I go to
buying the
Vegas.
pizza tonight, then.
Oh, pizza. 2 weeks out of my fight, pizza. It's okay, Jay.
You can just buy it for George and I.
That's messed
Watch
up.
us eat it.
That's messed up.
You can feed me if anything, if it makes you feel better.
Ooh, I don't know if that makes me feel better.
Oh, but footsies will.
I'm really fidgety. I don't know.
It's okay. Hold on.
I had
I
too,
can get,
I had
I can
too
get
much
the
water.
message. Oh no, I'm just making your shoes dirty.
Yep. Thank you for that.
This is going somewhere else. Here.
I'm going to say this. I want to see Demetrious Johnson. Not that this will ever happen, but I want to see a rematch. Demetrious Johnson and
Dominick Cruz.
Dominick Cruz. Yeah, I would love to see that. I know they're different weight classes. They're at different points in their game right now, but I would like to see that.
2016, I would guess.
Yeah.
Not impossible.
Not impossible.
You know?
Well, it depends. It depends what happens with the title shot and
The
stuff.
title
like that.
shot and, DJ continuing to clean out, and if he's looking for super fights, possibly going back up. And
Right.
He's not interested in that, so he says right now.
Right.
But that's not to
would
say
be
that you
so
can't do that
good,
as a non-title fight.
He's in that division where it's him and then everyone else.
Yeah.
John
Yeah.
Dotson,
It's like a
he's
Ronda
hurt,
Rousey.
but I mean, he beat John Dotson already. Even though John Dotson would probably be the best matchup for him right now,
Yeah.
he beat him already, and he's hurt. So I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't really know who's next. To be honest with you,
Jeez. And next week we've got a double shot, and that is going to come to the end of our.
We do. We have Nelson and Story and
Yep.
McDonald and Safadine.
Tarek Safadine. Yep.
Yeah. October 4th, we have two. I think one's in Canada and one is in
Halifax, and then
Yep.
well,
Sweden.
Halifax, Canada, and then
The other one's in
Sweden.
Sweden.
Yeah, Gunnar Nelson and
Sweden?
Tim Story.
Can we hear your best Swedish
Tim Story.
accent?
I'm sorry.
Rick Story.
I don't know a
Rick, the
Swedish
horror
accent.
story.
I'm not even going to give an accent a shot.
the horror,
The horror.
not the horror,
The horror.
not the horror, the horror,
The horror.
the horror story.
Here we go with the
horror.
West Coast, East Coast accents.
The horror story, and it's in the month of Halloween.
There you go. And that's going to wrap up, 6 weeks in a row, I believe, of back-to-back UFC events.
so tired of you guys.
Stop. UFC. I'm not tired of you yet.
I'm so tired of you guys. I really hope there's not a show during the week where I don't get to see you guys.
On Thursdays at 5 o'clock.
He's tired of us because he sees us twice a week now. You guys can see us, like Jay Tan was about to say, on Thursdays at 5 p.m. live on AfterBuzzTV.com talking about The Ultimate Fighter.
Mm-hmm.
Guys, we're getting kicked out.
That's the wrap-up music.
All right, give your
Let's do
shout-outs,
it.
Jay Tan.
As is usual, I'm all over the social media, JTan716, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook. I want to say happy anniversary to Mike and Carol, and happy birthday to my assistant Lila.
Hey,
now,
hey.
get back to work.
He doesn't have an assistant.
You can follow me at DariaB28. Oh, wait, that's yours. No, my bad.
Are you saying you want to be me, George Hermoza?
Maybe. You did win $1,000.
I'd
Yeah.
want to be me too right now because of that sole fact.
Okay, fine. Don't follow me at DariaB28, but you can follow me on Twitter. What are you looking at?
Nothing. I'm just waiting.
You can follow me at Daria. You can follow me on Instagram and Twitter at ghermosa.com. And then you can watch me Wednesdays on The League
Oh!
after show.
3 AfterBuzz shows. Cool,
Yeah, I'm getting up there.
cool.
And Thursdays on The Ultimate Fighter AfterBuzz TV
5 p.m.
4 Central.
I see what you did there.
Daria Berenato. You can follow me at DariaB28, as George already told you. Guys, I'm fighting October 11th at Maverick Stadium in El Dento, California. You can buy tickets. Thank you. You can buy tickets. Go to my Facebook at DariaB28. Type in Daria Berenato, whatever you please. And you can buy tickets. There's a link. Buy tickets. Do it. California
Road trip
Fight League.
from Los Angeles. George is driving.
What?
Let's go. Let's go.
I'm going to drive so drunk.
Guys.
You did not say that
Oh
on the
my
internet.
God! I'm going to scream over you. Okay, we have Dominick Cruz, TJ Dillashaw in the near future, Kat Zingano, Ronda Rousey. So many good fights coming up.
Anderson Silva, Nick Diaz.
Anderson Silva, Nick
Richmond J.
Diaz. What
You got to
else?
see an upcoming fight. Frankie Edward, Cup Swanson.
Me and some more chicken wings. Sir Edward, Sir Richard, whatever your name is, take it away.
Sir Richard Wentworth.
Wentworth, thank you.
Wentworth.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.